What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders. We've got another week of golf action here for the PGA Tour, another week of DFS golf, and we'll be here to talk about it. So we've got two events this week. The Puerto Rico Open is the alternate event taking place, but we've got the Arnold Palmer Invitational as the main event. That's the big DFS event that we will be focusing on. So Arnold Palmer Invitational, we'll break it down for you here over the next 45 to 50 minutes or so. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84. I've got Derek Farnsworth, Mr. Notorious, alongside me, and I have to give Noto some credit. He mentioned Straka on the show last week as a sleeper play, so well done on Straka there, Noto. But have to say that I one-upped you with the Gary Woodland over Duffner as the kind of under the radar play, although Woodland was more expensive. But I was happy to see Woodland get that top five as well. So it's a couple strong under the radar picks there from us last week.
I was going to say, if we went with our two gut picks of Woodland and Straka, we'd be looking pretty good. Yeah, Woodland with a great finish, although, man, he really burned me on Sunday showdown. I had him in my main lineup, and he had a 7-footer for birdie, 3-putted it to lose the birdie for a bogey-free bonus. Also, lost points there. So that kind of burned me a little bit. But overall, not a great week for me. I probably should have had more exposure to Straka. I had a top 20 on him, and he was one of my last guys that was out of the player pool because I only built 4 lineups. So didn't end up even getting any money back really other than the top 20.
I had him in 1. I only did 3 lineups last week, and I had him in 1. So that lineup ended up cashing, and it was a 5 of 6 with Sung Jae as the most expensive golfer. So that was the mistake for me. I played Sung Jae. I played Oosthuizen, and I didn't play Berger, and that was kind of the although Berger kind of faded on Sunday. Obviously, a lot of the top end salary guys struggled. It was a strange leaderboard. So Berger in 4th place obviously is better than Oosthuizen and Sung Jae missing the cut. But impressive finish there from Straka. I figured if anybody would chase Berger down, it would be Lowry, and he played well on Sunday also, but it was Straka that ended up pulling it out, and just an impressive performance. I mean, Straka even lost strokes putting on Sunday, but yet he still made 6 birdies, only missed 1 fairway, only missed like 2 greens, and so certainly deserving of the victory there with his 66 on Sunday. And once again, we talk about a course where not a lot of guys get to double digits under par, and Straka was the only one to finish there. So finally got a week where the course played difficult as expected. We saw, the cut line come in at 2 over par. So there was some carnage out there, which was a little refreshing to see after a lot of birdie fest to start the year. So a lot of big name players though missed the cut. Oosthuizen played, and to be fair, he ended up finishing 30th after a dreadful first round. Had a really good Friday to make the cut, but you saw Neiman end up missing the cut by a stroke. Fleetwood missed the cut by a stroke. Sung Jae missed the cut by a couple strokes. So there were some big names that did not make the weekend last week. Other takeaways from the event for you?
Yeah, I mean, Louis was so bad that I ended up unstarring him after Thursday's round, thinking he had no shot, and then checked back Friday and he made it. But unfortunately, Tommy was on my main lineup, so those two kind of went the opposite way. But yeah, what a strange Sunday. Berger had a 5-shot lead, and he gave it up in like 3 holes. I think they were tied after the first couple of holes. And then it was kind of looking like a 2-man race the entire time. And then we just see Straka put together that really strong back nine. And I don't know if you saw the quotes from Lowry, but a little bit of sour grapes on his end. He said the tournament was stolen away from him, and that if it wouldn't have been raining, he would have been right where Straka was on his drive on 18. But I mean, Straka hit it like 330, the best drive of the week on the of all 4 days of anyone. And Lowry's out there saying that's where he would have been if it wouldn't have been raining. So, I mean, it was a little unfortunate. You got 71 holes of perfect golf, and every other golfer in the field, finished their round without any rain. And then all of a sudden, just a complete downpour. So, I don't know. He needed to make one or two more birdies down the stretch. So you can't really claim that it was stolen from him. But big props to Straka. I know a couple of the guys in the industry had him as an outright at like 140-1. So yeah, props to anyone that hit that outright.
I mean, Straka's drive was 55 yards further than any of Lowry's drives the other 3 days that were in the fairway. Now, to be fair, he might have clubbed down, but who knows? Yeah, surprising sour grapes from Lowry. Wouldn't have expected that from him, but I did see that quote after the tournament. Keith Mitchell, another top 10. I faded him again last week, and I used to play Keith Mitchell all the time, so I'm regretting kind of missing out on his surge here. Even gained 3 strokes with the putter on Sunday, and he's always played better in Florida. So nice to see Keith Mitchell coming on strong, but that $9,100 price tag or whatever it was last week just scared me a little bit too much. But you look at the rest of that leaderboard, like everybody from like tied 9th to 16th, you got guys like Brian Stewart and John Huh and Lee Hodges, Sam Ryder, Adam Svensson, Mark Hubbard, Cameron Young had a good Sunday to kind of sneak inside the top 20 there, but not a lot of big names. And, it was a weak field, but just a weird event, I guess, all told. So anything else takeaways for you?
Keith Mitchell, did you see him playing the Ricky Fowler role there at the end? He was out there cheering on Sepp Straka. So I thought that was kind of cool. He was out there in the rain, just soaking wet, cheering on his dude. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, seems like a nice fella, and obviously happy to see Straka get the win there. And yeah, lots of people in the community had good weeks with him last week, and some big outright bets as well. So let's see if we can carry that momentum into this week with the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Another kind of difficult course on tap with Bay Hill hosting this event, and projected to be fairly breezy again this week in Florida. So we could see some difficult scoring conditions again this week. I think the winning score a couple years ago here was only 4 under. So that was a week where there was really heavy winds, but another event that generally plays pretty difficult, with the only change being that we've only got 120 golfers in the field this week instead of the usual, 144 or 156. So general thoughts on Bay Hill, the golf course this week?
Yeah, love this week. Love the golf course. Only 120 golfers in the field, so you're going to have a higher percentage of the field make the cut. And it's a very strong field, but it's pretty weak at the bottom. It is an invitational, so you're going to see a lot of different names there at the bottom. They get in for random reasons, but the course itself, par 72. I think it's the only par 72 in Florida that they play every single year. 7,466 yards, so the longest course that you're going to see in Florida as well. And pretty sticky course history. I was looking at the course fit tool on Data Golf, and they have it as the 4th most predictive course history year in and year out. All the par 5s are reachable with a pretty good drive, and you just can't really have any weaknesses here. You don't have to be long off the tee, but if you're not, you definitely want to be good with your long irons. You're going to see about 30% of approach shots be hit from at least 200 yards. They did redesign the course a couple years ago. They took out a bunch of trees. They widened the fairways. So the fairways here are pretty wide, but they did end up cutting down the rough in front of a lot of the hazards. So definitely a risk reward type of course off the tee. And then, yeah, the wind, like you mentioned, can play a big factor here. It doesn't look like it's going to be too big of an issue on Thursday and Friday, but Saturday and Sunday look kind of tough. So they're definitely going to see a lot of guys go backwards. And just like every other Florida course, there's a lot of water in place. So you're going to see a lot of movement on the leaderboards from day to day. So don't be counting your chickens before they hatch when it comes to making the cut, and don't rule anybody out either.
Yeah, the full Keegan approach is very possible. The old, 66 followed by an 80 or something like that. Could see that from somebody here this week with the trouble that exists on this golf course. And I was looking through last year's numbers. The par fives totaled an average of 1.2 strokes under par per round, and the par threes and par fours averaged 2.2 or 2.3 strokes over par per round. So basically, you're just trying to hang on those other holes and score on the par fives, which all check in at 590 yards or less on the scorecard. Course number 6 can generally play a little longer depending on the angle that you take around the water there, but with Bryson withdrawing, we're not going to have anybody trying to drive the green on 6 this year. So just the fact remains that the par fives are the scoreable holes on this golf course. So anything else about the course before we dig in?
Not really. Although I did find it interesting that on Data Golf they have around the green is not very important this week. Even though the greens here are tough to hit, and even though scrambling isn't particularly easy here, so I just found that a little bit interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I guess it's just one of those things where everything is important here, so something ends up getting the short end of the stick. But
good call.
Gonna have to try to keep everything throughout the bag steady in order to succeed here with the big numbers lurking. So, all right, let's talk about the top range. We've got our usual 5 golfers above 10K on DraftKings. With Bryson being out of the mix now, we've got Rahm and McIlroy, and then Hovland, Scheffler, and Matsuyama are your 5 options above 10K. And it seems like it's a pretty clear 1-2 split between Rahm and Rory at the top above the other 3. So this is a course that obviously Rory loves to play. You look at the last 5 editions of this event, Rory's gained 56 strokes on field average. And Rahm just continues to kick out solid finishes, though we haven't seen that top 5 upside as much as maybe what everybody was pegging back in January. So but both of them 20% plus. You think you need to start your even if it's a single lineup, you got to start with one of those 2 at the top, and if so, which one of the 2 do you like better?
Still debating on if I want to do one of the guys up here with like a 7K golfer, or 2 golfers in the 9K range for my main lineup. But if I am picking one, it's going to be Rory, and I think we're on the same page there. I saw you tagged him up on Lineup HQ. I mean, it's hard not to like him. You mentioned the course history, 5 straight top 10s here. He won in 2018, and 8 straight top 20s worldwide. So we talk about Rahm having a really high floor. So does Rory right now. And I found this really interesting. Over the last 6 months, he's number 1 in the field in strokes gained putting. I never thought that would be the case when it came to Rory McIlroy. So I actually think it's a positive that Bryson isn't here. He talked last year at this event where he got caught up into the Bryson, media sensation where he, drove it almost on the green, and Rory tried to do it too, and he hit in the water, and then kind of took him out of contention last year. So I think it's good that Bryson's not here. Rory's definitely my favorite play up here. The fact that Rahm's never played here before worries me, but man, fading Rahm just definitely feels scary. It kind of seems like everyone's kind of just not talking about him this week. So I'm interested to see what his ownership actually ends up being.
Yeah, one of those things that everybody thinks it's going to be low, and then they'll talk people into playing him, and then he'll end up right around where he usually is. But I do think it'll be a pretty even split between the 2 of them, and if that's the case, I got to go with the history and the fact that that Rory loves playing here. So I like them both, but prefer Rory myself as well if choosing between the 2. And you mentioned it, either starting with one of them or going with 2 guys in the 9K range. And it's just so that, the salary structure makes it to where, Hovland and Scheffler and Matsuyama are just tough to make a case for, because you'd rather either go up for one of the top 2 or dip down into the 9K range. Hovland's game on and around the greens, I guess if you think that doesn't matter, maybe that's okay. But in such a strong field, you probably got to make some concessions somewhere. So tough for me to get to Hovland. And like I don't have any problem with these guys. I just think that if I'm going down below Rahm and Rory, I think you're getting similar win equity with some of the 9K golfers. So that leads me to not much Hovland, Scheffler, and Matsuyama, almost just out of reasoning than it does that I specifically don't like any of them, if that makes sense. I don't know. Where do you stand on those three guys?
Yeah, I agree. And I believe it was Hovland a few years ago had a quote about how he didn't really love the setup for all the Florida courses. We don't see him play a lot of the events here. And I mean, he's played here 3 times. T40 is his best finish, which is very strange for Hovland. So kind of with you on that one. This does seem like a Scheffler course. I just don't want to pay the price for him. It feels like, you know, this is the most expensive he's going to be in a field like this ever, maybe. And then Hideki, just mediocre course history. So I'm right there with you. I like Rory a lot, and everyone else above 10K, I'm just not itching to play.
Yeah, we're in the same boat there. And then, you know, because that 9K range is so strong, and so we can kind of pivot there now. If you're looking to chat along with us during the show, we are in the free Rotogrinders Discord channel. So you can go, or Discord server. So you can go to rotogrinders.com/Discord, or you can access it from the drop down menu on the Rotogrinders homepage. But rotogrinders.com/Discord. You do not have to be a premium subscriber to get access to the that chat that we are in for this show, which is the live stream chat channel. So if you want to chat along with us during the show, we had some good conversation in the channel last week. So live stream chat channel on the Rotogrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. We can take some of your questions and chat along with you during the show. So check us out there. All right, let's dig into the 9K range. You've got Sung Jae, fresh off a disappointment last week as the most expensive golfer on the board, but he's a little cheaper this week. You've got Zalatoris, who has proven his worth on these harder courses. Hatton has done that in the past as well. Fitzpatrick would have been chalk a couple weeks ago if not for an illness that kept him out. And then you've got Leishman with a strong track record of success at this course and a pretty good start to the year. So lots of intriguing options above 9K, which is why I said, you know, I just prefer going here than getting the 10K guys. And you got Adam Scott, another Aussie at 9,000 as well. So how do you kind of power rank your top couple guys in that range?
So on the surface, I mean, I like all 6 golfers in this range. I think you can feel comfortable playing pretty much any of them. At the very top, Sungjae seems like a good bounce back week. He did miss the cut last week, but he did gain strokes tee to green. It was just 2 bad rounds of putting, and we can certainly forgive a golfer for that. Great course history, great history in Florida. My favorite's going to be Fitzpatrick. It kind of seems like everything's aligning for him right now. He loves hard courses. He's been in great form. And he's got 3 straight top 10s here. So Fitzpatrick's probably my favorite, but you mentioned Zalatoris, loves difficult courses as well. T10 here in his debut. And man, just the irons have been great. He hits a ton of greens. He rarely makes bogeys. He's just perfect for this type of course. So I like those 3 probably the most, but certainly no issue with Scott. He rates out as the most strokes gained per round in Florida of anyone in the field. Leishman's been playing great. I wrote him up as a conviction play. He's got a win here. His ball striking's been really good as well. Yeah, I mean, Hatton's kind of the odd man out for me, but certainly nothing against him.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Fitzpatrick, just relatively speaking, just because of the, you know, the illness, and he definitely wasn't feeling well for a few days. But again, splitting hairs more than anything. But Zalatoris and Leishman are my 2 favorites in here. Got a bet on Leishman to win. He's like 35-1, I think, in a couple spots. He's like 50-1 as first round leader. So, you know, a good form, good course history, and a good player in the wind. Especially when we get to the weekend, when you're probably going to see, you know, par as a really strong score. I think everything is aligning for it to be a Leishman week. So I don't tout him all that often, but I think this is a really good setup for Leishman, given the way he's been playing and the way he has played here and the weather conditions. So give me Leishman, Zalatoris always on harder tracks as my 2 favorites. Anything else in that range that catches your eye?
No, but we're pretty much on the same page with everyone so far. So it could be a good or bad week for both of us.
we're both due, so it's gonna be a good week. So, all right, Hatton. I don't mind Hatton in GPPs, but doesn't feel quite as strong as some of those other options. But he will be the lowest owned of the group, so no qualms about playing him if you're looking to do that to be a little bit different. Andromedus in the chat saying he likes Hideki and Rory for 10K plus. So, all right, let us go into the 8K range now, which I think is really interesting because you've got some guys that have maybe fallen on a little bit harder times lately. Sam Burns has struggled a bit of late. Gooch was pretty rough his last time out. And then you've got kind of the steady guys like Casey and Homa, and Horschel's been playing well, which is going to start to spread out ownership. Like right now, we've got Horschel at 14%. We've got Homa at 14%. We've got Gooch and Kokrak at 10. We've got Casey at 15. So interesting kind of dispersion of ownership in the kind of mid to upper 8K range. Anything standing out for you in there?
Mid to upper 8Ks, nothing that I love. I think Horschel's interesting though. For 3 months, he was just relying on his short game. He was chipping everything in. We've talked about it a lot on this show. And the last 2 weeks, the ball striking's been on fire. He gained 4.7 strokes in Phoenix, and then 9.3 strokes ball striking last week. We know he loves Florida, being a Gator. So I think he's interesting. Going to be off of Burns. He's missed 3 straight cuts in a row. Hasn't been very good here. Probably going to be off of Homa. I know he's playing great, got the good course history, but he does feel a little overpriced. Maybe he's the Keith Mitchell of last week, and I should probably just, play the guy in good form that likes the course. So maybe I'll come around on him. But yeah, I mean, Gooch and Henley seem very safe. And then, Kokrak's kind of the perfect fit for the course, and he's got a pretty good course history. But the guy that's number 5 in my model overall, Paul Casey, I play him anytime he's in these hard events or these strong fields. He just seems a little underpriced. He's one of the better guys in the field when it comes to approach shots from at least 200 yards. He's got a good course history here. He's won twice in Florida. So give me all the Paul Casey this week.
Yeah, he just keeps on playing well. We don't see him on the PGA Tour as much these days, but he just keeps on cranking out top finishes. I did not realize he's 44 years old. I know he's been around a while, but I wouldn't have pegged him to be 44. I'd have maybe pegged him closer to 40 than 45. But I don't know. We all get older, I guess. I can't slow it down. But anyway, Paul Casey's 44. Doesn't impact his. I'm not trying to be an ageist here. Doesn't affect his viability here. I was just surprised when I saw that yesterday. And he is my favorite in that kind of mid 8K range as well. Wrote him up this week. So another guy that we are on the same page with. I don't have a lot of strong takes on the other guys in the 8.5 to 9K range. Henley and Kokrak, I think, are fine. I almost never play Homo when he's chalk, but I got nothing against him either. So Gooch, I'm probably off this week. It just feels a little too volatile with the way he's been playing, and got to cut somebody out in there. So Gooch is probably out for me at 8,600. You mentioned possibly the last week's Keith Mitchell. What about this week's Keith Mitchell? So what do we do? Like, this is one of those scenarios, like Keith Mitchell was my guy for like a year, and now I've missed the boat on his like 3 straight top 12s or whatever it is. And now he's got 2 top 10s at this course. He's always tended to play better in Florida. He's like $1,000 cheaper this week than he was last week. So now what do we do with Keith Mitchell? Now what?
Yeah, whatever decision we make is going to be the wrong one. I'll take the over on 17% ownership. I think he's going to be so popular. But man, it's hard not to like him. I don't know. The price, I wish he was more expensive, so I felt better about fading him.
He's the new Sheamus Power. I don't know what to do. Mitchell is the one guy I have no idea. Like the way he's playing, and maybe I just bet him. Just bet him and not play him in DFS. I don't know.
I think he's 45 on DraftKings to bet.
I don't hate him as a bet. I just don't know what to do with him. I'm mad at myself that I missed the boat, and I'm mad at myself that I kind of poked fun at him being 9,100 last week. And this is what I get. So the golf gods have spoken. But okay, so if you're pivoting away from him due to ownership, which I agree might end up being a little bit over the number that we've got, then who around him looks as good for tournaments?
Well, Gregorius the Wise in our chat says, is Mitchell going to be 3 times ownership of Tringali? And I do think he's going to be that high owned. And the problem with Tringali, his trend makes no sense whatsoever, and it's just random. But he's going miscut and then top 15 in like 9 straight events, and he's on course for another miscut, I guess.
Well, that settles that debate then.
I mean, I like Tringali. He's played well last year here. He played well at the Players last year as well, and we know the upside's there. So he's not going to win, but I think he's interesting. If you ignore the random trend that he's on, I think he's a pretty good pivot.
Yeah, I don't mind that as well, especially at 4 or 5% ownership. There's a lot of intriguing guys like, Fleetwood coming off that disappointing fade on Friday to miss the cut. I'm going back to the Gary Woodland well after that, the one that finally worked out when I hopped on. So he's in my good graces. So we got to go back to some Woodland at 7% at 7,800. So
when's the last time he put 2 good tournaments together? I'm just curious. I'm not saying
I was going to say, I mean, it had been a long time since he had put 1 good tournament together. So it's certainly been longer since he's put 2.
All right, so last 14th and then miscut, 11th and miscut, 9th and miscut. But I mean, that's just what he's been lately. Because I'm tempted to play him too. Yeah, not just his recent finishes, but anytime he's finished high.
Oh, I was gonna say, as recent finishes before last week were cut 39th, cut. Yeah. So yeah, it had been pretty ugly.
I'm tempted, but he's so volatile. It's crazy.
It looks like May of last year, he had a stretch of 5th, 38th, and 14th. Otherwise, we're going back in the deep in the archives. The last truly successful stretch was a 3rd, 5th, 7th stretch in October of 2019. So we're talking 2.5 years, but I mean, he was just so bad for a year and he's always been streaky. I don't know. I threw it out last week and it worked. So he's at least earned the right to at least to have me try again and see what happens with the momentum. So I can understand if you didn't play him last week, why you wouldn't want to play him this week, but he's cheaper than he was last week, and got to differentiate those lineups somewhere. So I'll go back to Woodland at 7,800. Who else are you looking at in that upper end of the 7K range?
Yeah, that was a great call by you last week. I'm tempted to go back to Fleetwood. I mean, 1 bad round. I know his ball striking numbers were pretty ugly in those 2 rounds last week, but he's got a good course history here too. Loves Florida. His price is what, 2,500 cheaper, and he's only going to be 5% what we have him right now. So I mean, it's hard not to go back there. If you played Woodland last week, high ownership, high price, it makes sense to go back. I don't mind that. I'm going to play some Jason Day. I have a Jason Day problem. It's been working out for me recently. He's won here before. So I don't mind looking at him. And then Zuiden has a really good record here as well. Good with the long iron. So he's not a long hitter off the tee, but he has now made 34 of 36 cuts worldwide. This is a guy that you can count on each week. And above 7,500, the only other guys I would look to, Luke List and Chris Kirk. Interesting, at least.
I had a point there, and then I completely lost it in the that range. This is the tournament that Jason Day infamously withdrew and then went to Disney World way back.
He did it 2 years in a row. Not the Disneyland part, but withdrew 2 years in a row.
That's probably been so long. Time goes so fast. What was that? Maybe 2015 or something like that. It's probably
so he withdrew 2020 and 2019. So I mean, I guess
all right, it hasn't been that long yet. All right,
it could have been 2015 too. You never know.
Well, yeah, that's the epitome of the guy. If he hasn't burned you lately and you've played him some, I'll play some Jason Day. The Day versus Woodland heads up battle would be an interesting one. Just because they're both so hit or miss. But Zuiden, I do agree, is probably your safe selection in here at 7,700. I definitely have him in my GPP pool. Then we go down to, guys that have shown flashes over the last couple of months. Seamus Power had his run. Cameron Young, another strong finish last week with the Sunday round. Kirk and List, who you just mentioned, have had some upside lately too. Matthew Wolf has not with his 11 over par round or whatever it was last week, but certainly guys in there that you can sprinkle in. And what do you make of this surge from Young? Like, is he that legit?
I mean, he seems like it. I just have missed out thus far, and man, I don't feel great about playing, younger golfers that have never played an event, especially that, where course history matters. So I'll probably be off him again, and I'm sure he'll play well. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm off him as well. I like Kevin Na this week at 7,400, so I'll play him instead. And I haven't played Na in forever.
Wow. You got to sell me on that one.
I mean, he's just cheap. It's 7,400. Like, you got guys like Reed, who's awful now, and Wolf, who's awful now. And I mean, you look at the numbers over the last 50 rounds, he's 17th in total strokes gained, and he's $7,400. I don't know. He hasn't played much lately. Should be rested and ready to go. He shouldn't have the withdrawal risk, and he plays here seemingly every year. So I don't know. I mean, I can't have you talk me off of him, because it's so easy to talk me off of Kevin Na that I just say, okay, I'm not going to play him then. But Luch has him tagged, and TJ has him tagged, and I have him tagged. So I guess the Kevin Na thing, it's a thing this week.
Yeah, so honestly, the model doesn't hate him. And I was just worried about his course history. But when I went back and looked before the last 5 years, he had a 6th, the 14th, the 4th, the 2nd, and 11th. So yeah, he's got the course history to boot. So I take it back. I like the not pick.
He's gonna do for a withdrawal now. And part of that is also because I don't like a whole lot else in like that, even though that $7,200, $7,300, $7,400 range has a lot of names. I just didn't pick out a whole lot of guys that you had to have in there. I mean, I think Keegan's okay. I think Poulter's okay, but nobody ever plays Kevin Na. We've got him at 5%, and he never ends up in the double digits. So yeah, I'll play a little Kevin Na. Who you liking in the lower part of the 7Ks?
I ruined Jason Duffner's cut streak at the Honda, so I might as well do it to Poulter. He's made 11 straight cuts here, and they've all been top 41s or better. So I like Poulter a little bit. And then I like Lucas Glover. His long irons are really good. He is second in this field in proximity from 200 plus, which I think is pretty interesting. And he's got some good finishes here as well. He's going to lose 10 strokes putting because that's what he does. But I think he's interesting. And then Lonto Griffin, I mean, he just rates out by far as the best value for me. He's been playing some good golf. He's got 5 straight top 40s, 2 of 2 here, T21 last year, really good Bermuda putter. So he's going to be by far my favorite value play this week.
Yeah, I like that call. I think at that salary, pretty nice value there. And you can mix and match some guys down here in your GPP pool and feel okay about them. It's a pretty deep field. It gets somewhat weak in the 6Ks, as Noto mentioned, with the invitational format. There's some, there's some names at the bottom that maybe you feel a little bit uncomfortable about, but in the lower part of the 7K range, you can get some nice values to help round out your lineups. And if you're using one of the Rory or Rahm at the top, maybe you take maybe 2 of these guys to help round out your lineup. So Gregorius the Wise is asking if there's too much water on this course for EVR.
Yes, and somebody else brought up Wolf. Yeah, those are 2 fades for me.
Yeah, Wolf, no thanks. After on difficult courses with his form, definitely not for Wolf. The one guy I think is interesting this week, like the guy that gained steam last week all the way from Monday through Wednesday night, was Lee Westwood, and all of a sudden everybody was playing Lee Westwood, and he was playing well, but he struggled on Sunday. I think 3 over on Sunday, and that dropped him from kind of in the mix for a top 15 to 40th or some nondescript finish that nobody really ended up talking about. But it's another one of those situations that we talk about a lot, where if Lee Westwood would have finished in 10th place last week, everybody would be playing him again. You talk about a similar type of course. he had the course history last week. He doesn't have quite as much here, but he did finish second here last year. So, and we've got Lee Westwood at 3%. So nothing has really changed. Lee Westwood isn't a worse golfer than he was when he teed it up 7 days ago, or when he teed it up on Sunday and had one bad round. So, and I didn't play him last week. So 3%. Now I'll play some Westwood here. I mean, what's all that different from this week compared to last about him?
Yep, I'm always on board with Westwood at difficult courses because his putting isn't as bad when you have to be a good ball striker. So I like that call. And then there's 3 interesting plays at 7K. Sebastian Munoz has gained 16 strokes ball striking in his last 2 events alone. So if he can keep that up, I think he's interesting. And then Thomas Peters, everyone was rushing to play him, a couple of weeks ago at Genesis, and now, he's much cheaper. And we have him at 8% right now, but I doubt he's going to get that high. So I think he's interesting. And then Tigala, I mean, he's been playing some great golf. Do you have interest in any of those 3?
Yeah, I think Munoz is really, I like the calls on all of them, really. I think Munoz is probably the safest, and Peters and Tigala are probably more of the GPP guys. So I do like those calls, and that's really probably about it for me at 7K. I don't really like any of the other names around there. And I think we're both on Ortiz a little bit at 6,900 as well. So the field thins out once you get to the bottom part of that 6K range. So I'm with you on Ortiz.
Yeah, man, he's been pretty steady. He's long off the tee. His irons have been really good, especially the long irons. He's top 20 in proximity from 200 plus, pretty much any timeline that you want to look at. And he's 18th in the field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda. So kind of checks all the boxes for me. His biggest weakness is around the green. And like I mentioned, it doesn't seem like that's a huge, emphasis at this course in particular. So I do like Ortiz, and since I do, I'm sure this will be the Aaron Wise week.
Yeah, I'm probably off of him. I played Aaron Wise quite a bit, and I played Streelman quite a bit over the last few months, and I think I'm off of that. Andromeda says he always gets Munoz wrong, and it looks like he's going to be chalky. Munoz is another guy I haven't got it right a whole lot, though I haven't played him a ton, but it does seem like one of those guys. Sometimes when he starts to get chalky is when he starts struggling again. But speaking of, Svensson was a guy that I played for the longest time. I finally got annoyed and jumped off the ship, and now he's had, I think he finished in the 40s at Pebble, but still had like 23 birdies that week, and then a top 10 last week. So Svensson at 6,700. I suppose I'll probably hop back in at the wrong time, but he's actually like plus 360 or something on DraftKings for top Canadian, and there's only 4 Canadians in the field. So he's got to beat Connors and Nick Taylor and Pendrith. So don't mind Svensson on that bet on DraftKings, but I might play him a little bit in DFS as well. Anybody else you're looking at as a value play? Looks like we've got some ownership on Higo after last week.
Yeah, I mean, not a ton. I think I don't mind Pendrith down there. He is a bomber, and he looked really good with the irons his last time out. Other than that, I think Matt Wallace is interesting. I do think he'll be, become the most popular play below 6,500, but he's been really good here in the past, the 6th, the 24th, and the 18th. So he loves Florida, loves this course, and 6,400 is kind of hard to argue with, especially with so many golfers making the cut this week.
What's his recent form isn't great, is it? I looked at it last night.
Yeah, he had a 35th and then back-to-back miscuts.
Still pretty small sample size there. Gregorius is asking in the chat, any interest in going back to Straka? We never play guys off a win, and Straka is definitely the 150 to 1 winner. He's only got 1% ownership this week, so nobody wants to play him.
Pure speculation on my part. He looks like a guy that likes to party, so I think he's going to be living it up. I mean, I don't know. We've seen it. I mean, Luke List just won, a few weeks ago, and then he barely made the cut and then missed the cut his last 2 events. So I don't know. These guys that have just been grinding for so long, when they get that first win, I'm just off of them. So I like the guy, but not for me.
And I am finally off of Doug Gim this week. I've had enough of Doug Gim for a while. So in such a strong field with plenty of good value options, we don't need any Doug Gim. I've been waiting for that for about 20 minutes. Gregorius the Wise chimed in with Doug Gim. He was waiting for it. But even at 6,300, I don't think there's a need for Gim this week. So we're going to see other people, at least for this week, and see how it goes. So if you want to do that, queue up the top 10. But I don't know. Noto, this feels like this is the most alignment we've had on player pool in quite some time. I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah, by far. I don't really have anything against any of your plays, and it seems like kind of the same. Man, there's some strange names down here. I mean, Patty Harrington, Sean O'Hare, just some interesting names. Not that I'm playing any of them, but
Yeah, just not necessary in this field. But I guess who knows? After what we saw last week, just this field's so deep that it's hard to see a long shot winner. Anybody else that pops in the model there that you didn't mention?
the model likes Brendan Still, but I think he's missed like 8 cuts in a row. Scott Stallings, but he's been in bad form. That's about it. Charles Howell is fine.
Well, we've given plenty of options, I think, with the smaller field this week with only 120 golfers. Makes it a little easier, especially with these guys at the bottom, to narrow that player pool down a bit, despite the strong field. So with that, probably a good time for us to wrap it up. And a reminder that next week is Players Championship week already with the new schedule that debuted a couple weeks ago. And that'll be a lot of fun. Always fun talking golf, particularly with all the sad news surrounding baseball and the owners and the players not being able to agree on a deal. As a big baseball fan, that bums me out a little bit, but still be plenty of good content here. NBA season still going strong, and we've got the heart of the spring and summer of golf ahead of us too. So plenty to look forward to. Despite the the MLB deal not getting done, hopefully they're able to get that resolved soon, and so we can have all the NBA, MLB, NHL overlap and the crazy sports calendar that we usually have in April. So we'll wait and see on that front, but we will be back next week to talk the Players Championship with you. Same time, same place. Thanks to Steve for producing behind the scenes for us on a Tuesday night. Thanks to all of you for watching, and those of you who are watching us on playback on YouTube afterwards. Appreciate that as well. For Noto, I'm Justin. Good luck this week, everybody, and we will see you next Tuesday.